Two words can describe this animated series: brilliant and stunning. Arcane is a masterpiece. It is a work of art. But before I get into my high praise of this animated series, please consider this your spoiler warning, because I will be talking spoiler-ish. So you've been warned. First, so let me get right into it. Arcane is just a well-adapted, well-thought-out, and highly executed animated series. Now, with putting my cards on the table, I never played the game. I did not know, and still right now, currently recording this, I don't know the full lore. I do know that this is a prequel to an online, like a phone game called League of Legends. And it probably rings familiar with to you, because a ton of YouTubers were sponsored by this game, and you would see those little, sponsored videos in YouTube videos, like, hey, this week's video is brought to you by League of Legends, blah 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 blah. And you've heard it not only with that game, but with many more just sponsors that sponsor YouTube videos, YouTube content, to put their word of mouth, and they offer like 20% discount or whatever. So this animated series Arcane is a prequel to the actual game. And right there, hats off to the marketing team. The fact that they knew, and I think we're about to see, or this is about to kick off, I think for the next 5 years, we're about to see mobile games that are hits being adapted to the small screen in as far as Netflix and streaming services. Now, this isn't by any stretch the first one. I think we saw Angry Birds kind of do that first in a somewhat successful way. But I think that now the fantasy role-play genre is going to get their shot. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what about Final Fantasy? And hey, Final Fantasy is Final Fantasy, but I don't think it's to the level of this animation or just this series, period. It has great animation, and I'll talk a little bit more about the animation, which is probably a drawback, but the farther you get into it, the better it gets. And I'll get to that. It has great animation, great music. It has great voice acting, and it has a nice script. And again, nice ideas, nice plot devices that move the story forward. It doesn't feel generic. It feels so super original. I mean, it just does everything right. And as you're watching this, you're like, it can't get any better. And then the next episode comes and you're like, it can't get any better. And then it comes. So it just keeps on building the momentum all the way from the beginning to the end. Now, I will say this. There is a couple of spots where there is some pacing issues, but it's going to happen. Nothing is perfect. Nothing is 100%, but this is damn near close to perfection as far as just an all-around great project. I don't want to keep on saying an animated project, just super enjoyable. I wasn't even interested in watching it. It's been on my Netflix thing for a minute now, and I was like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. And from the first moment I turned it on, from episode 1, it just exploded in my mind. And then I started Googling stuff as I'm watching and realizing that it's from a video game and all this stuff. And now I am so intrigued in the lore of this series. Now, if you're not familiar with this series, I'm not going to divulge a lot of information. So the spoilerish part is going to be very minimal on this one, because I want you guys to go out and watch this. and just be amazed and in awe of what an animation studio or just any studio should do. Now, we have a lot of, adaptations. Like I did a review of the Cowboy Bebop. Of you already have your Marvels, your DCs, your Masters of the Universe, all these different adaptations that go in every direction. Without knowing the game, this feels like it's doing its fan base a it's a big old thank you for the support, and they made sure that they were going to give fans what they wanted, what they asked for, and more. Like they had an expectation, but they over delivered. And when you do that, I don't care if you're selling shoes, if you're selling, clothes, if you're selling a game console, whatever ideas you want to undersell and over deliver, and this feels like it did. Now, I downloaded the game, I saw a little bit of what's going on, and I'm definitely gonna dive in just to get the full experience. Because now, I mean, you got a hit. This series just dropped on Netflix, and they've already announced a season 2. This thing right here should get awards. I don't know if it qualifies for any awards, but this should be up for a lot of animation awards. A lot of, as far as like screenplays, or it's well thought off and building on the mythos of the universe of League of Legends. And again, I'm not familiar at all. Now, it centers around two major characters from League of Legends, Vay and Jinx, and by far I love them both. I think the animation, the way they're drawn, not only those two, the females, there's 3 of them. I can't remember the other one that helps out Vay. She's one of like these like cops, I guess, of this universe. There's a lot of complaints about animation, how they make women too buff, like we did see in the What If, and I'll get to the similarities between the What If series of Marvel and this series here, which is just on one small part, but something that I first thought, and then this series kind of took it by itself and then made it its own. They animated the women or the girls in this series in Arcane very feminine, with small shoulders, with actual like bodies, with female bodies. And I'm not saying that What If doesn't, or any other animations like the Masters of the Universe that Kevin did was very muscular. They drew these characters as they did in the video game. And yes, Jinx is very sexualized, with no bra, with her short top. She's very revealing, very sexy, if you will. But she is such a kick-ass character. All the women in this universe are equal to men in how they kick ass and how they can hold their own. They don't need a man to defend them. And in an era where people are, oh, it's too woke, or it's not woke enough, I think the way this studio did it, and again, it's servicing its fan base. This is a big old thank you for the support from Riot Games, that they just wanted to give their fan base a huge, like I said, thank you for everything you guys do, and build on the lore. And again, these characters were already established, so they knew that the fan base would not react good if they change anything about these characters the way they already looked in the video game. And I was just in awe that, and you know what? It's a sad statement when I say I'm in awe in an era where when artists can't just have free will, draw and animate how they see fit and tell a story. Because yes, when you see them, they're like, oh my God, they look so feminine, yet they kick so much ass. There's no lack in power. Again, Vay is just, stoic, kind of straight business, doesn't mess around, is just bullheaded, like just straight ahead. You know, it's gonna like just like the like very like I said, very stoic. It's just, you know, down to business, no BS. And then Jinx is like this maniac, kind of psychopathic, and we see in the first two episodes what led to Jinx becoming who she becomes. And there's a little bit of far-fetched. I wish they would have elaborated a little bit more on that, but you know, one of the minor nitpicks. But then Jinx is, again, she's brilliant, she's crazy, she's smart, she's powerful. I mean, all the attributes. She's, you know, creative. She, you know, she's dealing with her inner. I mean, there's so much depth to Jinx that you're like, geez. And not just Jinx. Every character is well fleshed out, well thought out, and it looks like you could tell that they spent time, you know, thinking of the best way to bring this to the fans. Now, I will say this about Jinx. She is very Harley Quinn with her mannerisms, with her visions, the way she hears voices, which, again, I'm all for. I love Harley Quinn. And Jinx is just a cut of that same cloth, and I am here for that. Even though, again, it's very Harley Quinn-esque, and depending what version, of course, of Harley Quinn, but the darkest version of Harley Quinn, Jinx, is this character, and I'm here for that. So I mentioned a little bit earlier about the similarities between What If and Arcane. Now, the similarities start and end with just the animation style. What If it had a bunch of, the same thing we could say with League of Legends, but they're doing a prequel on a story that they already did, but they're kind of making it up as they go along. There is nothing set in stone, where Marvel was just kind of using, you know, already plot lines that were already established and just kind of tweaking it a little bit to tell an overarching story, which is great. But what I want to focus on for just a little bit is the animation style. They both have that comic book, you know, game mode, like the cut scenes in games. And that's what made both, or makes these both. Not only that, and only these two, because Netflix is known for its anime or animation from all over the world. And I've seen some similar to this. But those that, when I first saw an episode, the first episode, I was like, wow, this is very What If of this series to come on, because it has that same 3D animation look. Like I said, it's like a video game cutscene, and I love it. I think this is the new era, and I think with the highly acclaimed animation of What If, and just how everyone is raving about Arcane, I just think these studios are gonna get a bunch of more work. Riot Games for Arcane, and I think it's Squeeze Animation for Marvel that did, I think, the 5 episodes for What If. I mean, that's where it starts and it ends, just in the animation. They were very similar, but like I said earlier, the more you get into Arcane, the more they make this animation their own. And that's when you know you have a masterpiece, when you have a just a unique work that you're watching. And that's why I think this is just, in my mind, it blew me away. I didn't even, there's nothing that I could compare. I'm gonna do a show about the best movies, the best series, the best animated series and stuff like that. And I honestly gotta sit there and think, because the animation, you know, category is, whoo, boy, this is just out of nowhere. I didn't think I was gonna watch something this good for the rest of this year. I thought What If was probably gonna be it as far as the animation style and the quality, and this came out of nowhere, at least in my world. And I'm shocked in awe of how brilliant this is. And just to finish up the music, I mean, come on, you got Imagine Dragons doing your theme song, which fits perfectly. The music is so hip, it's so on point. Again, it just knows its target audience so good. And not even that, if you're not even a fan like me of not even that I'm not a fan, I've never played it. I heard about it but never played it. Just, I'm not into mobile games. I'm into my PlayStations, my Xboxes. I get down on the Nintendo and shit like that. Like, I'm more of a console person. I know we're making a move to online games, as of late. They're making the quality a lot better. And but I mean, they have their target audience. And again, it's just, what a great way to do marketing and to put out a product, because you know the numbers of how many people downloaded your game, how much money they spent on your games, how, the age group, the sexes, the sex that play these games. Like, you have so much analytics that when you make and put something like this together, you have it so dialed in. And you really have to royally mess up to not do something this brilliant. And maybe this is it. I hope that more studios take this route, because Jesus Christ, this is good. Again, just the Imagine Dragons doing your theme song. And I just like that the extra caveat, this is what they told them in episode 5. They literally animate Imagine Dragons as they're singing the song. That had to be the cherry on top, saying, hey, we'll pay you to do it. It's going to be the theme of this new animated song, Arcane. And we're going to animate you too in it. And I'm pretty sure I was like, you know what? Done, and done. So, again, Arcane on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, go out and watch it. Spend some time. It's like 10 episodes. They're like an hour long. So it is a little bit of a chore to watch them. But trust me, it ain't even a chore to watch this. It's a delight. It's so dope. The animation, the way they handle the topics. Yes, it's a little bit of adult, so I wouldn't recommend it for maybe kids under like 8 years old. It's not that, but it's just a work of art. Like I said, 2 words to describe it, or like I said in the beginning, 2 words to describe it: brilliant and stunning. So, but anyways, those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And like always, that's a wrap.